Genesis 49. Jacob called for his sons and said, "Gather together so I can tell you what will happen in the future days. Assemble and listen, you sons of Jacob. Listen to Israel, your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might and the beginning of my strength, understanding in dignity, understanding in power. You are destructive like water and will not excel, for you got on your father's bed, then you defiled it. He got on my couch. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Weapons of violence are their knives. O my soul, do not come into their council. Do not be united to their assembly, my heart. For in their anger they have killed men, and for pleasure they have hamstrung oxen. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their fury, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. Judah, your brothers will praise you. Your hand will be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons will bow down before you. You are a lion's cub, Judah. For the prey, my son, you have gone up. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He crouches and lies down like a lion, like a lioness. Who will rouse him? The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he comes to whom it belongs. The nations will obey him. Binding his foal to the vine, and his colt to the choicest vine, he will wash his garments in wine, his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes will be red with wine, and his teeth white from milk. Zebulun will live by the haven of the sea and become a haven for ships. His borders will extend to Sidon. Issachar is a strong-boned donkey, lying down between two saddlebags. When he sees a good resting place and a pleasant land, he will bend his shoulder to the burden and become a slave laborer. Dan will judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. May Dan be a snake beside the road, a viper by the path that bites the heel of the horse, and that is rider, so that its rider falls backward. I wait for your deliverance, O Lord. Gad will be raided by marauding bands, and he will attack them at their heel. Asher's food will be rich, and he will provide delicacies to royalty. Naphtali is a free-running doe. He speaks delightful words. Joseph is a bough near a spring whose branches climb over the wall. The archers will attack him. They will shoot at him and oppose him. But his bow will remain steady, and his hands will be skillful, because of the hands of the powerful one of Jacob, because of the shepherd of the rock of Israel, because of the God of your father, who will help you, because the sovereign God who will bless you, with blessing from the sky above, blessing from the deep that lies below, and blessing of the breast of the womb. The blessing of your father is greater than the blessing of the eternal mountains, or the desirable things of the age-old hills. They will be the head of Joseph, and on the brow of the prince of his brothers. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf, in the morning devouring the prey, and in the evening dividing the plunder. These are the 12 tribes of Israel. This is what their father said to them. When he blessed them, he gave each of them an appropriate blessing. Then he instructed them, I am about to go to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave in the field of Ephraim the Hittite. It is the cave in the field of Machpelah, near Mamre, in the land of Canaan, which Abram bought for the burial plot from Ephraim the Hittite. There they buried Abram and his wife Sarah. There they buried Isaac and his wife Rebekah, and there I buried Leah. The field and the cave in it were acquired from the sons of Heth. When Jacob finished giving these instructions to his sons, he pulled his feet on the bed, breathed his last, and went to his people. All right. The blessings and phrases like this, sometimes they get really hard to kind of go, what in the world is the imagery supposed to be? What am I supposed to be thinking? How am I supposed to fully understand what's going on here? So, Shy, welcome in. Lexi, thank you for the lurk. Why didn't God didn't want David to build the temple for him or his house? Because he was a warrior who had blood on his hands. So since he was a warrior who had blood on his hands, he wasn't allowed to build the temple. Yeah, and you're just answering that. Okay, so just asking about that. Seems as much possible God didn't want us to take another human life in self-defense. Well, there's ways that could have been changed or whatever. It's just the reason that's given. It's just the reason that's given. Because he was a warrior, that's why he doesn't get to. He's not a priest. We have the separation of prophet, priest, and king on some level, and he's a warrior king, so he doesn't get to be the priestly king. So I think that's the direction that goes with that. So I don't think it has anything to do with self-defense, Shy. I don't think self-defense is coming into question at all in regards to this, because he would not take Saul's hand, so there would have proven himself to be one that is doing things in the right motive. So I don't think self-defense is even in consideration in the equation whatsoever. And it doesn't mention that. It just says he has blood on his hands because he was a warrior. It doesn't say anything right or wrong. The same way that a woman is unclean because she's menstruating, she has blood flow. It's not right or wrong. It's just is. It's just true. And so she's unclean because of blood. It's not a judgment on her. It is you are in a state that is this. You can't be this because you are unclean. So I don't think it has anything to do with how the blood got on his hands. It is simply that he has blood on his hands because he was a warrior. And so I think that's all it is. It's just blood makes you in a state of unclean. God could have provided a way to make him clean. He chooses not to. The same way there's a way for women and anyone who's unclean to become ritually clean so they can go into the presence of God and into the temple. We couldn't start the foundation of the temple with someone unclean without the temple process to make them clean. So I think that's what's going on there. And I appreciate your question, Shy. They just sometimes, you're coming from nothing to do with what we're talking about in the passages. And so it would be, like, in some ways better if we were looking at those passages to be able to look at them in more depth, but they're not in front of us. So sorry about that. So Jacob calls his sons together. So we have this progression here of Jacob doing one thing, making a promise with Joseph. Then he has an encounter with Joseph and his sons. And now we have gather all the sons together. Gather all the sons together. So they are gathered together. He's going to tell them what will happen in the future days. This is an interesting way of phrasing it. The term akharit refers to what is off, after, or behind, which by extension can refer to the results of the descendants and hide part of something or following time, like the Akkadian cognate of the Hebrew phrase. In future days. Days are coming. Okay, so it's giving a description of that. I'm not going to go into further. It's kind of long. Okay, so assemble and listen, you sons of Jacob. Listen to Israel, your father. So we're going to start with the firstborn. Reuben is my firstborn. My might and the beginning of my strength. Outstanding in dignity, outstanding in power. You are destructive like water and will not excel. You are destructive like water, you will not excel. Do not excel. The hifil verb here has the meaning only here. Negative, jussive is rhetorical here. Rather than being a command, it anticipates this will transpire. The prophecy says that because of the character of the ancestor of the tribe of Reuben, wouldn't have the character to lead. So you're the beginning of my power. However, you forfeited that. When you went on your father's bed, then you defiled it. He got on my couch. So we know what happened, a euphemism here for sleeping with the concubine. Like, here's the reason your tribe isn't going to excel. You're going to be very destructive. You're going to be like water, but you will not lead. Now, Simeon and Levi get put together here. And so there's a part at which they're bound together, but there's a part at which there's some difference here as we go through. And so some of it is maybe Levi only, and some of it is Simeon. Weapons of war are their knives. O my soul, did not come into their council. Do not be united to the assembly of their heart, for in their anger they have killed men. So here we have, in their anger, what they did. And then we have a reference to probably being metaphorical here and poetic. And for pleasure, they've hamstrung an ox. I don't know if they did that. They didn't do it. We don't have a story of it. Maybe they did. Maybe this is when they were younger. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their fury, for it was cruel. Yes, it was. It was fast, and it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. Okay, so I don't know if Simeon ends up being divided, but Levi does. Levi does not have his own territory. Divided, scattered, what is predicted here is division of the tribes. Most commentators here anticipate Levi being in the area, but not their own, but maybe part of it, but not the entirety of the curse intended. This tribes, for their ruthless cruelty, would be eliminated from the power and prestige of leadership. So they're going to be scattered, so they're not going to be able to gather together. So if you're thinking of the Tower of Babel is scattered, you can't have power. So the two of them are going to be scattered, so they can't. So here's another thing. They can never join together and go against their brothers. They're going, because Levi is going to be scattered, so they can't join together in some level. That might be another piece of that. And then we have Judah, which is like the best one in some level. Your brothers will praise you. Yea. Your hand will be on the neck of your enemies. Yea. Your father's sons will bow down before you. So the one who was so upset about him bowing down to Joseph is the one that all the brothers are going to bow down to. That's cool. Your father's sons will bow down before you, like a lion's cub, Judah. From this prey, my son, you have gone up. He crouches and lies down like a lion, like a lioness. You will rouse him. The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he comes to whom it belongs. The nation will obey him. Okay, a lot of Christians want to just jump all the way to this being Jesus, but it could be. David is in mind here. The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he comes to who it belongs. Well, the first one who was going to have the scepter is who it belongs to, the house of David. So it's not going to depart from him. It's going to be in the house of David. That might be what this is intending. Yes, we can see it as a future fulfillment in Jesus too. However, we don't have to jump there. We can say, this is about the son who will be the first to take the scepter up. Now, Judah, we have the whole story of Judah and Tamar, and then Judah is the one who is the one protecting Benjamin, and out of him being the protectorate, he gets to be the Behor of the family, the head of household, who is going to do things. Oh, I guess there was more here that I didn't read, the scepter staff. Until it comes to along, the nations will obey him, binding his foal to the vine and his colt to the choicest vine. He will wash his garments in wine. His robes will be the blood of grapes. His eyes will be red with wine, and his teeth white from milk. So he's washing the vine, the choice vine. He'll wash his garments in wine, the blood of grapes. This can be a reference to bloodshed, which David is. He's the one who establishes the kingdom. And so the objective there could be that that's who it is. His eyes are red with wine. Glisten from, adjective occurring only once in the Bible. Its meaning is uncertain. Yeah, I'm not certain what that means. They're dark with it. Okay, and I'm not sure what the teeth white with milk is a reference to. Some translated compare darker than wine, whiter than milk, a reference to presumably a healthy appearance, but understood as a symbol of abundance. The dark or red eyes would have been from drinking wine, and the white teeth from drinking milk. So he has an abundance. So this also could be hey, he's got blood on his garments from establishing the kingdom and putting all of the enemies underneath so that Israel can have a king that is going to rule, and there's abundance underneath him and peace, and so we have milk that represents that. So this could be all references to David. Zebulun will live by the haven of the sea and become a haven for ships. His border will extend to Sidon. Simple. He's going to go live by the sea. Issachar is a strong-boned donkey lying down between two saddlebags. When he sees a good resting place and a pleasant land, he will bend his shoulder to the burden and become a slave laborer. So Issachar is going to just take the path of easiness. The oracle says the tribe of Issachar will be willing to trade liberty. It's a reversal of the Issachar oracle. Okay, I don't know much about that. Dan will judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. May Dan be a snake beside the road, a viper by the path that bites the heels of the horse so that the rider falls backwards. I wait for your deliverance, O Lord. So interesting that Dan is going to judge, but we don't have that he is going to be the scepter, the ruler. So Dan's prominence may be in the time of the judges. He's going to have those who oversee, but he's going to be like a viper who's by the side of the road. And one of the things that happen is he's slithering along, and there is Samson, who is part of the tribe of Dan, and he's in the time of judges. So this may be looking to Samson as part of that. But Dan keeps moving. They don't settle in territory. So the slithering and the moving of the path might be because of that. And they're going to be a troublesome piece there. Shy. So, no, I like, okay, you don't care much about the temple. It's personally more about why refuse David because of shed of blood on his hands. Why that? You don't think that could impact eternal thought, though? No, because David is called a man after God's own heart. It's not about his motives. It's about the fact that he did have blood on his hands. The same way, like I was trying to make the point of a woman who is menstruating is unclean. David is simply unclean because of bloodshed. It's not that in order to become clean, there's a process to become clean. If he's going to build the temple, which is one of the places where you can go through a process to become clean, he can't be in there. He's not clean. He can't bring uncleanness to create the place where cleanliness is going to come from. So he can't be participant in it. It's his personality what interests you, God personality. Yeah, he's after God's own heart. So that part should be duplicated. That should be the part that we think of. The other thing is he's repentant when sin confronts him. He tries to make restitution for it. He sits in sackcloth and ashes when he is pointed out that he has sinned. He just has blood on his hands because of that. It's not been removed. God could have, if God wanted David to build the temple, God could have come up with a way for David to build the temple. But he's like, no, you don't get to do that. That's not part of what you get to do. The same way that Moses isn't banned from presence of God because of his sin. He was just banned from going into the promised land. So the sin would not allow him to move into something else. Hey, Queen, welcome in. Thanks for the lurk. So I hope that's making sense. Getting back to the blessings. Gad will be raided by marauding bands, but he will attack them at their heels. Okay, so I don't know, Gad, doesn't sound great for you. You get attacked by marauders. You get to attack them back. I assume that means you're winning. You're attacking at their heels, or maybe you're attacking at the heels means you don't get to do much. I'm not quite clear on some of these things. Asher's food will be rich, and he will provide delicacies to royalty. So Asher's going to have an abundance of crops. Naftali is a free-running doe. He speaks delightful words. Okay, Naftali's going to be having some delightful words, a free-running doe. So some good stuff there for Naftali. We get some short little things. And then we get a long one for Joseph here. Fruitful bough, a fruitful bough near a spring whose branches climb over. So remember, this is Ephraim and Manasseh now. The blessing is to Joseph, but they already had the blessing to Ephraim and Manasseh. Archers will attack him. They will shoot at him and oppose him, but his bow will remain steady in his hand, will be skillful because of his hand of the powerful one of Jacob. Joseph is the powerful one of Jacob because of the shepherd of the rock of Israel, because of the God of the Father who will help you, because of the sovereign Lord who will bless you with blessing from the sky above, blessing from the deep that lies below, blessing from the breast and the womb, blessing from the fathers that are greater, blessing from the eternal mountains, the desirable things of the aged hills. They will be on the head of Joseph and on the brow of the prince of his brothers. So we have this massive long blessing over Joseph. Joseph is also the one who is overseeing and blessing his brothers. In this time, the scepter will get to Judah, and Judah will rule. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. In the morning he devours his prey, and in the evening dividing the plunder. Yep, that's pretty much, we keep thinking about Benjamin as the skillful left-handed warriors and the skillful slingshot guys. They're powerful warriors. So Judah is the first one to go into battle. He leads the tribes. And later we have Benjamin, who's going to do some cleanup duty. You don't want to be around them. Okay, so this is how he blessed them with appropriate blessings. Then he instructed them, I'm about to go to my people, bury me with my fathers in the cave of Ephraim the Hittite, in the cave of the field of Machpelah, near Mamre, in the land of Canaan, which Abram bought from the burial plot from Ephraim the Hittite. From the burial, they buried Abraham. So he's giving them very specific instructions and who's buried there, all being put together here for us. Now, let's just see on the footnote. Do they have anything there? Some translation term Het as Hittites here. Okay, so some put Hittites here instead of Heth because Heth is the father of the Hittites from the sons of Heth. Okay, when Jacob finished giving these instructions to his sons, he pulled his feet onto the bed, breathed his last, and went to be with his people. I love the stories like this. Now, it doesn't have to be an immediacy of this, but I have seen this in some ways where people are with and waiting for someone to come in to say their final goodbyes, and then they very shortly after that peacefully pass. There is something within our being and our souls that have the capacity to do that. And some people, are like, well, why can't I die sooner? And all of those things. I don't know, that part I don't know. But to the extent of when some people get to say their goodbyes, they do all of their blessings upon the family. They often also sometimes need permission. And we often, I've often encouraged and others do the same, is you need to let the person dying know that it's okay for them to go. Sometimes they need to hear that, and then they will go. But anyway, I'm just fascinated by this idea. He pulls his feet up on the bed, he breathes his last, and he went to be with his people. It doesn't have to be immediate. It could have been just he pulled it on, later he did this, and then he went and did that. Cold. Your mother-in-law would agree with that, giving permission. Yes. Sometimes, like I said, some people need it, some people don't, but some people are hanging on. They feel like they need to be there, like they are the protector of the family, and they are hanging on. And so giving them permission to go, that we are all right, we're going to be okay, is sometimes a gift to them.